Hey everybody, it's Brian Maples back here with a video. Today we're going to be going to revisit a past project, a previous video I did. I'm going to cover a past item. Before I get into all that though, I'd really appreciate it, guys, if you could like and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. Everyone that does that, it really helps me out, so I appreciate that. Also, I do use Jungle Scout. I do have an affiliate link. If you guys do decide to get it, or if you're trying to renew it, please check out the link. It will help me out a little bit if you guys choose to get Jungle Scout. It also has a discount, usually anywhere from 10 to 30% or more. So please check that out. And in addition, there's also FBA Commute. It's my new Patreon. You can email me at fbacommute@gmail.com or FBA Commute Patreon, which I'm also taking some students. I may take one or two more, and that's about it. I have about 7 right now. We're all working right now to find a product, and I'm hoping we're all going to crush it. I'm going to do my best to make that happen for you all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the lesson here. So what do I have going on here? You guys might remember this. I did a video on it in the past. This is a magnet fishing kit. For those of you that have followed me for a while, I covered this a while back, and I want to cover a few things and go over some interesting things that will talk about some PPC. We'll talk about competition. So one of the biggest things I get asked by my students is, how do I know when it's a good product? And that's a tough question to answer. I've watched a lot of videos on a lot of different people that do know what they're doing, or at least they say they do, and maybe they do. And I don't claim to know all the answers, because I don't. I know I have a specific style that I use. It seems to work for me. I do really well with it for the most part. I have a couple variations, but really like 4 different products that do really well. The one, it does okay. It probably makes me $15 a day. I'm not saying that to brag or anything like that. $15 a day is not much, but it adds up. I mean, $15 a day, 30 days, that adds up. $350, $400 a month, that all adds up. So if you get enough products like that, then you can make your living off of doing it. So so let's get into this. The magnet kit we covered before. Some of you might remember that, and I'm actually going to go into my Alibaba here. This is an Alibaba I use specifically for my videos. It's not the one I use normally, but just to show you guys, we went in there before and we searched for magnets, right? We talked about how it'd be a good product. I know some of you mentioned some apprehensions about magnets because some restrictions from Amazon. That's mainly smaller magnets from what I saw. I did bring up the information, I believe, in the comments section of the YouTube video if you look. But what I want to check out here is you can kind of see this is now a high demand, high competition. So if you would have got into it when I talked about it, it was still very low competition. There was a lot of room to move into it, and you would have done really well. I mean, look at some of these numbers now. So I can remember some of these kits from before, and there are some new ones as well. So some people did listen and jumped in there, or had plans to jump in there anyway. But you can see some of these that have these huge number of reviews. 102 sales a day. They're doing 65,000 in revenue a month. 94,000, 64, 50,000, 30, almost 34,000. So there's quite a bit of revenue, and there's still not a ton of sellers. I'm sure if I click on this, more will come up. But look at the revenue in this category. If you would have got in when I talked about it, you could be doing really well right now with one of these kits. It didn't take a ton of differentiation. I think anybody could have jumped in there. And the reason I mentioned that is because that's the kind of product, if you go back and watch that previous video, that's the kind of product I want to find. Low competition, high demand. Now, I'm not just going by this opportunity score. A lot's been said recently that 2020 Amazon's different. And of course, as we move forward and we progress, Amazon's evolving, and you have to somewhat evolve with it. Competition's getting tougher. You can't just put... I've never been in an Amazon where you could just put a product out there that's the same as everybody else. Like people talking about barbecue gloves and garlic presses and all this stuff, where you can just buy that product and then you can just put it on Amazon, call it your label, and you sell it. I've never I've never even been in that Amazon. I started selling about a year and a half ago, and in that reality, in that Amazon, you had to differentiate yourself. You had to bundle. You had to do something different to make it better. So I've never lived in the Amazon that people talk about, where you could just simply buy something and it would sell. At least I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's very rare, right? So I've always bundled. I've always differentiated. That's the Amazon that I was taught to sell in by Paul, which many of you guys probably watch. But some of those old things, and I refuse to believe that it's not true anymore, because I've seen it work. I've seen it work for me. I do things a little differently because I like the bigger items typically, but if you would have looked before, you would have saw these reviews were really low. Now, we used to say top 7 out of 10 or 7 out of 12 reviews. If they were about 75 or below, that was a low competition product. And that actually somewhat still holds true. I mean, we still get 1, 2, 3, but then once we get 4 or 5, some up here, you could maybe break into this market, but it's high demand, high competition. At this point, it'd be very tough to differentiate yourself and get in there. If you would have jumped in before, you could have potentially got in there. So I look for revenue. Look at the revenue in here now. Now, the revenue wasn't as strong, but it was still very strong before. So I want to see strong revenue. When I say revenue, I've been asked specific numbers. Ideally, I want to see about 10,000 in revenue, about 300 monthly sales at least. 10 to 30,000 is probably the area I'm looking in. Just because if you're going to sell, you have to have, it's very hard to sell in a high competition, high demand market. So the reviews do matter. People will say they don't matter anymore. I've heard people say that. I disagree. I think, why go into a market that's so high competition and try to spend a bunch of PPC on that? I'm going to get to that in a second. But absolutely, if you can get a market that has lower reviews with less sellers that don't have a ton of reviews that can just blow you out of the water, and there's sufficient revenue, maybe 10 to 30,000, and 300 monthly sales, and you'll probably see that type of revenue if you see above 300. Yeah, I think you can jump in there. I do like the price point of this item especially as well. It means you can usually generate enough of, let's say, 10 to 15 to $20 or more in profit potentially. So if you're going to do PPC, you can use a large portion of that to push your PPC to get more sales, to get more reviews, and put yourself at the top of the list. So let's go ahead and jump over to Jungle Scout. So let's say, I'm not suggesting you do this. Get into this magnet fishing kit now. I would have suggested it back then, but right now I wouldn't suggest it because it's higher competition. There's a lot of revenue in it, but it would be more difficult to jump into it. So let's talk about, this is a portion in Jungle Scout which I really like. It's Keyword Scout. Now, I was messing around with this the other day. Now, many of you with PPC, you grab your 50 words, right? I've even heard people grab 1,000 words or 100 words or whatever it may be, but usually 50 words. You bid on those top 50 words. You optimize your campaign after a week. Maybe you run a broad campaign, maybe an exact, maybe a phrase, maybe you run all three, maybe you run an auto campaign so you can get more keywords that you can put into another campaign. So there's a bunch of different ways you can launch a product, right? But the neat thing is, if we look through here, this is going to tell us a couple different things. What I like to start with is, we can look at the 30-day search volume. Now, you can also see the 90-day trend, which is neat. But it gives you the search. So Magnet Fishing Kit is overwhelmingly the most searched for thing when it comes to this product. If I type in Magnet Fishing Kit, there's 13,000 searches, which is pretty strong, actually. It's not bad. But look at the rest. They're all under 150. There's not really anything else that's real strong. But a lot of times, with a lot of products, you'll see this spread out a lot more. And what you can do is use this Keyword Scout. You type in the keyword that you want to actually use, the keyword that you think is the most dominant keyword, let's say. And it looks like this is the case with the Magnet Fishing Kit. And what you do, and you can search, they have a graph and everything, but I like to come over here, and it gives you your bids, right? But it also tells you, this is what I like, this little ease to rank. It tells you if it's somewhat difficult or if it's easy to basically get your keyword rank not your keyword rank, excuse me, to get your product's sales for that specific keyword search or phrase, right? So it gives you a bid. So I like to see lower bids, maybe like 70s, below $1. I'd like to see bids if I can get them there. A lot of bids below there. I'd like to see more search volume for these other keywords. But the ease to rank is easy, which is a good thing. The relevancy to the product that you're searching is good. You want to hopefully look in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And it'll tell you like how many sponsored products you have to sell to kind of get up there. But that's the important part, is I'm looking for ease of rank, okay, which is somewhat difficult for Magnet Fishing Kit. So if I was going to try to move into this market, I wouldn't go and put all of my PPC into Magnet Fishing Kit, because it's going to be high competition. It's going to be very hard to rank. You're going to run out of PPC fast. So what I would try to do is try to take all these other keywords, hopefully ones that would have more search volume than this, and I would try to put my bids, maybe 3 or 4% higher, or even more, for all of these extra keywords. Because let me tell you a story about the one product that I have. The one that only makes like $15 a day. But you know what? It's money. It's profit. I'm okay with that. So when I launched, there were 2 or 3 others that launched the exact same thing as me. So my supplier, who gave me the differentiation, must have been giving that same differentiation to everybody else, right? Must have been touting how great it was. So I was very frustrated. But, I still won the war with that. What I mean is, now I think it has 40-some reviews. It does sell 6 or 7 a day. I do run a real basic PPC campaign. But where I found, which I didn't know at the time, I just didn't know what I didn't know, was that I was ranking. I did the 50 words. I did the optimization. My PPC was never really below like 40%. But I've adjusted it since, where I've really put a lot of my money into these extra words that are easier to rank for. And when I found myself, for example, if I had a magnet fishing kit, I found myself ranking for magnet fishing kits, or rope for fishing magnet, or magnet fishing with rope. For example, I found myself ranking for a few of these side keywords, which were right below the main word. Now, the main word had by far the most searches, but it was very difficult to rank for. So if I go over here, this says somewhat difficult. For the one I'm talking about, it was very difficult to rank for the main word. So every time I would try to rank for that keyword, my PPC would just get eaten up so fast. So I'd be spending $20, $30 in like an hour or two. And it just wasn't worth it. It wouldn't last me at all. So here's a big thing with PPC that you guys have to think about. Before you sell a product, go in here and look at how many of these words are easy, or moderate, or difficult. Find out how much search volume they have, because you can see there's not much search volume for the rest of these. You'd really want to try to rank with Magnet Fishing Kit, and it's somewhat difficult according to this. So you really want to find that one that has a lot of extra keywords you can rank for. For example, if I'm going to bundle, and this is going to be a bad example, this is my kid's pen, right? I'm going to bundle this with a notebook. Okay, this is like I think it's, actually I don't know what the hell it is. Let's say this was a pen, okay? If I was going to bundle this pen with a notebook, a kid's notebook, let's say. Now, there's going to be keywords for this. Maybe it's going to be blue dog pen, okay? And maybe a bunch of other, maybe kids pen. There's going to be a bunch of keywords for this pen. But also, if I have a tablet in my hand, there's going to be a bunch of keywords for that tablet. So you have to look at both of them. In maybe this tablet's super high competition. Maybe there's thousands of tablets out there, and if I try to rank for a bunch of different keywords for tablet, it's extremely difficult to do. But maybe ranking for blue dog pen, or ranking for kids blue pen, or whatever the other keywords are for this blue pen, maybe they're easy to rank for. So, of course, that's important, because maybe you can make your sales off of the ranking of the keywords for the blue pen, and not just the rankings for the tablet, if that makes sense. So where I find difficulty in the item that I have is that the main part to it, I still consider the main part, to rank for it is almost impossible, because it's just, there's so many people doing it, and the competition is so high, I cannot bid on that keyword and really keep my PPC campaign going. What I can bid on is the other part to the bundle that I have, because that I kind of come under the radar and I bid on those keywords for that other part. I'm actually ranking for that, and when people see it bundled with the item that I can't really rank for, they end up buying it because they're looking for the other item. They say, hey, it's a nice bonus, I can get this other item with it. So I guess even for some of the smaller combinations, if you combine a smaller item with a bigger item, that you think the bigger item that's the one that you're going to rank for, right? That's really what you're trying to sell. But maybe this other item has a demand as well. Now, the reason I'm not selling a ton because it doesn't have a ton of demand, and it's somewhat competitive as well, but it's not nearly as competitive to bid on those keywords as it would be for the main item. So think about that before you launch a product. If you can find a product, ask yourself this: can I differentiate it? If you can just differentiate a color, I was just talking to one of my students about this. If you can just do a color, is that really? If you can do paint or something, that's different. I'm saying if you can just do a different color, like a black or a red instead of an orange, is that really a strong enough differentiation? I mean, is it really? Probably not. So you've got to have either something you can combine it with, which is my favorite, maybe two like items that make sense, that both maybe have low competition and high demand, or maybe you make something better. Maybe I can make this, it's not a pen, I don't know what the hell it is, but maybe it writes in blue, but maybe I can make it write in different colors, and maybe it makes a noise like when I push it. So I've made it different, right? I've made it maybe better. Of course, that noise probably makes it worse for parents who don't want to hear it. But in all seriousness, if you can make the product better, but if you look at it and you can't make it any better, you can't think of any way aside from maybe a color or adding another one to it, could you succeed with that? Possibly. Is that a great differentiation? Not really, especially if you're in a high competition, high demand market. First of all, you do want to find a low demand, high demand, especially high demand, $10,000 to $30,000 revenue or more, preferably. 300 sales a month, I talked about that. And something that has low competition, low reviews for the most part. They're out there. I find them every day. But can you find something to differentiate them? That's the true question. And then when you do find it, come into here, do yourself a favor, do the research ahead of time, go by the data, go to Keyword Scout, type in magnet fishing kit, for example, find out what the keywords are. Like if there's a kit here, let's say, there's a magnet. Magnet's probably really hard, but magnet could represent so many things. So magnet fishing, we already typed in the main keyword. We know that's the main keyword. We can also know that we can rank for these other keywords in our campaign if we concentrate more on those versus this. But we also know that they have nearly no search volume, so it would probably get you almost no impressions. So you want to find stuff that has high search volume for a lot of the keywords, and then you want to concentrate on the easy ones to rank for. So that's my tip, especially for PPC. Especially before you launch a product. When you find that product, if you can find a way to differentiate it that you think is a solid differentiation aside from just color, for example, come in here, type in the main keyword or keyword phrases, and try to figure out if there's high demand in multiple other search criteria or keywords for your item before you launch, so you know if you can sneak in there in other ways and back-end keywords. Hope this helps you guys out. Please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. If you have any questions, fbacommute@gmail.com. And just one more quick thing, guys. The reason I do go over my sales, somebody commented in a erased their comment, and they said something about me being, I don't know, something to the effect of I was all about bragging. I'm not trying to brag. When I show my numbers, it's me being transparent with you, at least in the respect that I'm not BSing you. If I don't show my numbers, people say, well, why aren't you showing your numbers? You're full of it. But if I do show my numbers, some people say I'm bragging. So, you can't win. I can't make everybody happy. That's okay. But the reason I do show those numbers, because some people want to see them, and it does show that I am being transparent with you. So anybody who wants to see my numbers, I would be happy to. But a lot of times, too, I just don't know what else to talk about. I'm vlogging, so if I'm just doing it for my cell phone, especially when I initially started this, I just wanted to talk about my journey, and it wasn't about doing lessons, but I've evolved into that, which I really like doing. But it was just about telling you what was going on. So if I was suspended, I would tell you about it. If I was having a bad day, I'd tell you about it. If I was having a great sales day, I'd tell you about it. So it's more about telling you about the journey that I'm having. I never meant to brag or to come off as a bragger. I certainly don't want that. I'm truly blessed, and I'm well aware of that. And I'm very thankful that I'm able to do this for a living independently. It's been an unbelievable blessing and a dream come true for me. So at any rate, guys, I appreciate you all. I hope you guys have a great night. I want you all to be successful as well. If I can help you, if you can email me a question, I'd be happy to answer it when I get to it. If you do want more specific coaching, and I really think for what I charge, it's a pretty good deal. I will give you a lot of attention, but feel free to message me, fbacommute@gmail.com. I have a Patreon site. I have 3 different tiers, 50 for the list, 100 for basic coaching, and then 250. I'll even help you pick a product. So I hope you guys have a great day. God bless. Thank you.